All right, so I'm seeing some of y'all turn in your work for today's trapezoid assignments, and some of us aren't choosing the right numbers. Some of us aren't using the right formula, so I want to clear up some of that confusion real quick. We are going to keep practicing with trapezoids tomorrow, so don't worry about that. But remember, our formula is area equals height times base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. Okay, so I'm going to put this right here so we can keep looking at it. Oh, where'd it go? There it is. Okay, so there's my formula. All right, so I need three numbers. I need a height, and I need the two bases. In our notes, we talked about how the bases are always going to be the two sides that are parallel. Just like before, you never need a slanted side. Find your chair. It'll help you find the sides that you need. Still the same skills we worked on last week. So let's look at these two examples, and then I'm going to switch over and do a couple of our homework problems so that you can have a little more help. So if we're looking at this one, I made this one up. This one's not on homework. So maybe the first thing we should do is let's cross off the number that we don't need. Okay. Remember, you never need a slanted side, and you never need the side that's not touching the chair. Well, this time they made it even easier. They gave you two chairs. Okay. And the reason for that chair is to show you this is a straight side. All right. Because remember, in order to find the height, it has to be perfectly straight. When you go to the doctor and they find how tall you are, one of the first things they say is stand up straight. Because if you're slouched over, that's not your accurate height. So this slanted side right here would be like if you're slouched over or if you're bent. It's not going to be an accurate height. So this slanted side right here, we don't need it. I'm going to cross it off. Okay, it's a slanted side. I don't need it. But also it's not touching my chair. So if it's not touching my chair, then I don't need it. Okay, so that eliminates one number. Well, I have three spots to fill, a height and two bases. Well, I have three numbers left. So that's a good indication I'm going to have to use each one of those numbers. So remember, your two bases are going to be your sides that are parallel. Okay, so looking at the three sides we have left, remember this one over here doesn't count, it's gone. So looking at the three sides that we have left, what are the two sides that are never going to touch each other? Okay, so like this one right here is already touching both of these. So that one kind of rules that one out. So the two sides that are not touching each other, the two sides that are parallel are the 6 and the 12. And those are your bases. Those are the two numbers that you need for your base. Now remember, it doesn't matter which one you put first. You just need to know that those are your bases. So this is base 1, and that's base 2. Okay? Which means that this over here has to be my height. Okay? All three of those numbers are touching my chairs, which is what my requirement was. So now I just need to plug these things in. So we said my height is 10. All right. Base 1 is 6 plus base 2 is 12. And I'm dividing it by 2. Now, just like order of operations, you have to do us in parentheses first. So let's take care of the top first. 6 plus 12 is 18. We'll leave the 10 alone for now. 18. Okay. Still doing what's in parentheses. 18 divided by 2 is going to leave me with 9. And then I'm doing 9 times 10, which is going to leave me with 90. Okay? So you just need to make sure that you're putting in those right numbers for the bases, because some of us are putting like 10 and 6 or 10 and 12. And remember, those are not your two bases. Your two bases are your sides that are parallel. All right, so let's look at another example. All right, so once again, first things first, let's get rid of the numbers that we don't need. Okay? So remember, I don't need slanted sides, and I don't need numbers that aren't touching my chair. Okay? Here's my chair. Well, 3 and 11 are obviously touching my chair. Okay? So I can't rule those out. 4 is a slanted side. I'm going to cross her off because she's slanted. 8 is also a slanted side. So I'm going to cross that one off. Okay? So now I have my three numbers that are left. All right? Remember, your bases are your ones that are parallel. Well, if you're looking this line right here and this long line down here, they're parallel. They're never going to touch each other, which tells me that those have to be my bases. So I'm going to plug those in as my two bases. Okay? So I'm going to squeeze it in down here. If 5 and 11 are my bases, then that tells me that 3 has to be my height. So I'm going to plug in this 3. 5 plus 11. So remember, it's base 1 plus base 2. 3, leave the 3 alone for right now. 5 plus 11 is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. And then 3 times 8 gives you 24. Okay? So those are just two quick examples to kind of help you remember those rules again. Okay? So now I'm going to switch over to look at some of your homework problems. Now, I will admit, some of these are easy, but some of them do end up being, there's a decimal in it, and I didn't mean for that to happen, so I do apologize about that. But I did tell you you could use a calculator. So hopefully you did that to make life a little bit easier. We're just going to do a couple of these, and then hopefully that'll help you get you in the right direction. All right, so my formula is up here. I would recommend you writing it on your paper as well, just so that you always have it as a reminder. All right, now this paper is nice because they only gave you the 3 numbers that you need. They didn't give you anything for slanted sides. They didn't give you anything to mess you up, just the 3 numbers that you need to solve these problems. So looking at number 1, if I'm looking at this, here's my chair, okay? And then this side is parallel to this side. These 2 sides are never going to touch, okay? So that tells me that those have to be my bases, which tells me that 6 has to be my height. So if I plug these in, 6 is my height. Base 1, 8 plus base 2 is 4. Okay? Do what's in parentheses first. 8 plus 4 is 12. 12 over 2. All right. Do what's in parentheses. 12 over 2 is 6. When you have a number beside parentheses, it just means you're multiplying. So this is just 6 times 6, which leaves you with 36 inches squared. All right. Let's look at the next one. Okay. This line down here is parallel to this line up here. Okay. So those are my bases. 6 and 9 are my bases. So this is base 1, this is base 2, and here's your height. Now you're just plugging it in. Okay. So we said the height is 4. All right. One of my bases is 6. The other base is 9 divided by 2. Okay. Do what's in parentheses first. Leave the 4 alone for right now. 6 plus 9 is 15. All right, so now I need to still do what's in parentheses. 15 divided by 2, this is where it gets a little messy, is 7.5. Okay, now if you're comfortable with decimals, then have at it. You can do 7.5 times 4. But I did give you permission to use a calculator, so feel free to use the calculator to solve this problem. Okay, if you end up doing 4 times 7.5, I'm getting an answer of 30. Okay. All right, let's do the next one. Last one I'm doing with you. Okay. So, which 2 sides are parallel? Don't tell me it's this one and this one because they obviously cross each other. Don't tell me it's this one and this one because they're going to eventually cross each other. The only 2 that will never cross each other is this one and this one. So that tells me that these 2 have to be your bases. And then this would have to be your height. Okay, so now let's solve it. My height is 6. One of my bases is 8. The other one is 11. And I'm still dividing by 2. Okay, so then 6 stays the same. 8 plus 11 is 19. Okay, then I'm doing 19 divided by 2. And once again, use your calculator. I'm giving you permission. These types of questions are going to be calculator active on the EOG, so I want you to feel free to use it on your homework as well. 19 divided by 2 is going to leave you with 9.5. Okay. Now the last thing you do when a number is beside parentheses, you're just multiplying. So 6 times 9.5 is going to leave you with 57 yards squared. Okay. So hopefully this video helps you out a little bit. Like I said, we are going to keep practicing with trapezoids tomorrow. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll try to answer them But just be careful. Don't try to rush through the work. Make sure you're finding those sides that are parallel. Make sure you're getting rid of those sides that you don't need, and you'll do fine. Okay?